My Ear-Piercing Husband, Part 1. Ian was the youngest of 4 children. He grew up, played sports, attended school, and eventually graduated from university with a degree in international business. He has a fair complexion and stands around 5 feet 4 inches or about 162 cms. As he got older, his lack of physical size reduced his time spent playing sports, and his academic pursuits took up most of his time. About 3 years ago he met a married Catherine, a qualified beautician, and the two of them have never been far from each other's side in the time since then. Early in their marriage, Ian continued to work for and share trading while Catherine worked in a beauty salon in a large shopping complex. After about 6 months they decided that they wanted a change of scenery, and after about a month of searching found and purchased a small double-story building in a town of approximately 20,000 people interstate. The ground floor would be converted into a beauty salon and they would live upstairs. Ian would continue to trade shares, but this time for himself, and they planned to live from the profits of the beauty salon in their share portfolio. Moving interstate and establishing the salon was very exciting for them, and they enjoyed working so closely together. The first couple of weeks were spent installing equipment and painting the salon. A week later the salon changes was opened and Catherine had a steady stream of clients coming into the salon for various beauty treatments. Ian spent his days working in a makeshift office upstairs and trading shares with great success. Financially and personally the new move was paying great dividends. One night while out to dinner Catherine asked Ian, "Would you like me to pierce your ear for you?" Ian didn't really know how to respond to her suggestion. "Why?" he asked curiously. "Well, I just thought that it would look really sexy on you, that's all," she replied. "I've never really thought about it, to be honest, but if you'd like it done then why not?" When they got home Catherine grabbed him by the arm and led him into the salon and prepared to pierce his ear. Ian had no real idea as to what was involved, but Catherine explained the process. It was something like, "I clean your ear, mark a spot for a positioning, and then shoot the earring into your lobe with the gun." "Gun? Shoot!" exclaimed Ian. "It's nothing, look," at which time she showed him the piercing gun and how it worked. "It doesn't even hurt. 5-year-old girls don't even cry." After cleaning and marking the piercing location, Catherine placed the loaded piercing gun to his ear, and within a second Ian's left ear was pierced with a plain silver stud. "There," said Catherine, "nothing to it at all. It looks really great." Ian wore the piercing stud for about 5 weeks, and then one night Catherine took it out and replaced it with one of her own genuine diamond studs. Up until now, Ian had paid no attention to his pierced ear other than when his wife cleaned his ear on a daily basis. Not knowing many people in the town, he could freely walk around in public with his pierced ear, something that he would surely have been conscious of in his previous life. He did, however, like the look of the diamond stud in his ear and asked Catherine to try more of her earrings in his pierced lobe. For the next half hour or so Catherine inserted and removed around 20 different styles of earrings, everything from studs and hoops to some more feminine types. His wife finally put in the diamond stud as his new piercing was starting to swell a little with all of the activity. "Earrings really suit you," she said as she placed her jewelry collection back onto her bedside table. "You should get another one to match." "I'm quite happy with one, thanks," Ian replied. "But 2 would be so much better, twice the fun. Come on, please, for me," Catherine pleaded. The idea of the second hole in his ear wasn't necessarily what he wanted, but he finally agreed to his wife's request. So they went downstairs and Ian sat down and waited to have a second stud in his ear. After a minute or so Catherine had all the ear piercing equipment ready and then moved towards Ian and started to clean his right ear. "What are you doing?" inquired Ian, pulling back his head. "I'm going to pierce your ear," replied Catherine. "But I agreed to get a second hole in my left ear, not have my other ear pierced," he exclaimed. "But I wanted you to have both of your ears pierced so that you can wear matching earrings, not just 2 holes in the one ear. Honestly, I find men with both ears pierced so sexy, and it would so great if you would have both ears done for me, please honey," pleaded Catherine. Ian finally relented and agreed to have his right ear pierced to match his other ear. Catherine proceeded to cleanse and mark his ear, and as before, the piercing gun was placed to his ear, and before he knew it, he had had his right ear pierced. He could tell that his wife was delighted with her little victory, and that she had now convinced her husband to have both his ears pierced, somewhat against his will. Looking in the mirror, he was not so pleased. Sure, it was his face looking back at him, but the pierced ears, each adorned by studs, were his wife's work. Life changed little for the next few months. Ian continued to have success on the stock market and wear studs selected by his wife in his ears. The salon was also going from strength to strength, with a growing number of regular customers and many new clients coming through the excellent reputation that the salon had established within the community. Due to the hectic workload in the salon, Ian spent more and more time downstairs helping with the running of the salon, washing linen, taking client bookings, and ordering equipment. One night, while watching a basketball match involving their respective favorite teams, Catherine suggested that they have a friendly bet of the outcome. "If your team wins, I will cook all meals for a month," said explained. "And if my team loses?" queried Ian. "Let me think," pondered Catherine. "I've got it. If my team wins, then I get to give you a makeover. You spend so much time downstairs now that it wouldn't hurt you to experience some of the treatments that our clients have done to them. You might even enjoy it." With his team ahead by 11 points just before halftime, he agreed to the bet, thinking that a month of not having to cook was as good as his. By the three-quarter time, his team leader had been whittled down to just 2 points, and when the final hooter sounded, his side had lost by 6. He was in disbelief as he stood and trudged towards the stairs leading to downstairs in the beauty salon. "Where are you going?" queried Catherine. "To have my makeover. Your team won, that was the deal," he explained. "Not tonight, dear. What I have planned we will do on Sunday. That will give us the entire day," came Catherine's reply. "All day?" complained Ian. "You have to be joking." "I don't want to hear another word about it, Ian. I won the bet. Therefore I make the rules," shouted Catherine. "Do you want me to tell your parents and family that you now have both your ears pierced and work almost full-time in a beauty salon?" Ian could say no more. "How could I get myself into this?" he thought to himself as he went to have a shower. In the bathroom, he looked at himself in the mirror. Up until now, he was okay with his wife modifications. Pierced ears did actually suit him, but a makeover. He could only wait until Sunday and hope that his wife would change her mind about the bet and consequent makeover. After what seemed like 5 minutes, it was Sunday morning. Neither he nor his wife had discussed the makeover for the entire time leading up to now. Had she forgotten? Had she had a change of heart? To his fear, the answer was number. Soon after breakfast, Catherine headed towards the stairs leading to the salon and said, "Go and have a shower and a shave, and I'll be waiting for you downstairs. See you soon. Just wear a t-shirt and boxers." After showering and shaving, Ian looked one last time in the mirror and wondered nervously as to what he would soon look like. He felt like a prisoner on death row walking to the electric chair as he went from the bathroom downstairs for his makeover, whatever that meant. When he got downstairs, he noticed that all of the front curtains had been closed. "You do realize that I love you, Ian, don't you?" queried Catherine. "Of course I do," came Ian's reply, "but why this? It may seem strange right now, but in time I hope that you remember today fondly," she said, gesturing him to climb onto a padded table that had been placed in the middle of the room. "Firstly we will do the waxing and then move on to some more enjoyable things later on," whispered Catherine. No sooner had he climbed onto the table than Catherine started smearing warm wax onto the lower part of his right leg. She then applied the cotton backing and quickly whisked away from a large area of hair. He was about to yell out in pain when Catherine said, "Now I don't want to hear you complain, or I'll be forced to contact your parents and family about your new image, and I don't want to have to do that, do I?" "No, that won't be necessary. I'll do as I am told," Ian replied quietly. After another 30 minutes or so, both of Ian's legs and armpits were waxed bare. There was no need to wax Ian's chest, as it and his back were barren of hairs naturally. At this point, Catherine gave Ian a damp towel and instructed him to clean away any remaining wax. To his surprise, He actually liked the feeling of rubbing his hands up into his now smooth legs. "They feel nice, don't they?" said Catherine, noticing that her husband was enjoying the sensation of his own bare skin. "You'll soon feel much better, I can assure you." At this, Catherine asked Ian to lie down and she slid off his boxer shorts, exposing his groin. "Please no," exclaimed Ian. "Not my bikini line. I promise that we'll both enjoy this once that it is done," came back to Catherine's reply. "I agree that my legs now feel great, but this was something else," Ian said nervously. He was about to say something back, but seeing the scowl on Catherine's face decided to say nothing and accept what was about to happen. Catherine waxed his entire crotch area, including his scrotum. Even though for much of the time he was in considerable pain from the waxing, he found that Catherine's attention was too much and he became aroused. Once his groin was entirely hairless, Catherine started to rub oils the bare skin beside his erect penis until the incredible sensations that he was experiencing were too much. "Oh, my God!" he screamed as he came over and over again. As Ian lay back and Catherine cleaned the cum from his stomach, he couldn't help but feel what he had just experienced was right. It didn't feel strange in the least. He looked down towards his wife and said simply, "I love you. I knew that you'd love it. I've been preparing you for this ever since we got together. Piercing your ear was just a way to get you started, plus the fact that I find you so sexy with them pierced," said Catherine. Catherine suggested that Ian now go upstairs and have a shower and freshen up, as she still had a few things to do to complete the makeover. The water running over his hairless body was extremely invigorating and he loved watching it trail down from his chest in an almost unimpeded path to the shower room. It was now with a sense of excitement and anticipation that he left the bathroom and moved downstairs. "If you come and sit over here, I'd like to work on your face to make you even more beautiful." Motioning for him to come and sit nearer to her, "I'm just going to tidy up those eyebrows and apply a little makeup and we'll see what you look like then. Turn away from the mirror, dear, I'd hate for you to see yourself before I'm finished." Ian turned away to face Catherine and was soon closing his eyes and having wax applied to his eyebrows. Shutting his eyes, Ian's thoughts drifted regarding the happenings of the day. Earlier in the day, when he was even hesitant to have his legs done, a great deal had transpired since then. As the wax was whisked away from his left eyebrow, the sting associated brought him quickly back from his dreaming. "Not much longer left now, darling," said Catherine. Within 30 seconds Ian's other eyebrow had been thinned. Catherine then began using tweezers to get the few stray hairs that had been missed during the waxing process. After 5 minutes or so, every excess eyebrow hair had been removed. "You are going to love how they look," said Catherine excitedly. "They're even better than I imagined. Now let's put some finishing touches. I'm going to put on some makeup that will just finish everything off beautifully," Catherine said as she reached for some cosmetics. Catherine then skillfully applied lipstick, mascara, thick eyeliner, eye makeup, and a base foundation that complete Ian's face. "I've got a wig that I'd like you to wear that will just finish off everything so wonderfully," said Catherine. "Okay, dear, I trust you," replied Ian, who was by this stage excited about seeing himself fully for the first time. With the wig of flowing dark brown hair in place, Catherine instructed Ian that he could now turn and look at himself. "I hope that you like it." "I certainly do. You look absolutely amazing," Catherine said, smiling with satisfaction. Ian looked into the mirror in astonishment. Could it really be him standing there, or was he dreaming? The reflection in the mirror was that of an attractive lady. He then moved closer to the mirror and inspected his new appearance in closer detail. His eyebrows were now two thin, well-defined arches, his lips shined in the light and his eyes looked sexy and inviting. The wig encased his face beautifully and with just enough of his ears showing to display his pierced lobes. "Hope you like what I've done?" queried Catherine. "I can't believe that it is me. It's like I'm looking at someone else," replied Ian. "You are incredible." The two of them then hugged for a long time until Catherine said, "Open the top drawer, there's something in it for you." Ian opened the drawer and noticed a small gift-wrapped box. A card attached simply said, "To Anne." "Who is Anne?" inquired Ian. "You are. You're Anne when we do this together." "It is my gift to you," she said. "Please open it, Anne." He hesitated for a moment, weighing up in his mind that if he did this then Ian would be no longer. After a deep breath, he opened the box to reveal a beautiful pair of gold hoop earrings. "They are just for you. You don't need to ever have to borrow mine," said Catherine. "Thank you, Catherine," he said. "They are just lovely. Could you put them in for me, please?" At that, Catherine slipped out the plain silver studs that Ian had been wearing and placed the new gold hoops into Anne's ears. On inspection in a nearby mirror, Anne couldn't believe how beautiful they were. "I love them. Thank you for finding Anne. You can do whatever you like with me. Come with me now, Anne, into our bedroom. I can't keep myself away from you any longer. You look so incredible that I could just eat you up, and that's what I am going to do," exclaimed Catherine with a real hunger in her voice. The two of them then moved upstairs, stripped, and climbed into bed together. At this stage, Catherine really took control and rolled Anne onto her back and climbed onto her already erect penis. The sensation of Catherine's pubic hair rubbing Anne's hairless crotch only heightened the stimulation Anne experienced. "I never want you to have a sex change, Anne. I want you to be able to do this to me always," cried Catherine as her breasts swayed rhythmically with her movement. "I will always do whatever you want. You are amazing. You know more about me than I do," Anne responded. "You feel extraordinary." At this, Catherine leaned forward and clasped Anne's new hoop earrings. She placed her thumbs on the front section and held the clasps at the back closed with her index fingers. Catherine then increased her intensity and began pulling on Anne's earrings as she continued to consume Anne's penis. All of this stimulation was too much for Anne, and she began coming like never before. It was like something deep within her had been released. Just as her ejaculation was nearly complete, Catherine began to orgasm and ride Anne even harder, pulling strongly on Anne's ears. Catherine continued to orgasm for so long that Anne actually came for a second time until all of her vessels were totally spent. When both of them finished, they held each other closely and individually took in the amazing experience that they had just shared. By this stage in the day, it was mid-afternoon and the two of them chatted freely about the makeover. "I don't know why I was so hesitant to go along with your plans," said Anne. "It has been the most remarkable day." "How can I ever repay you for all that you have opened up for me?" questioned Anne. "Just seeing you and being with you is reward enough," replied Catherine. "This is something that we can do often if you like. I'd love to keep waxed. I love how it feels and you feel against me. My eyebrows make me look much more feminine. I also want to keep wearing your earrings. They are so special," said Anne. "That would be great. It certainly was amazing. Let's have some dinner and then we'd better get downstairs tidied up before work tomorrow," said Catherine. After dinner, they both went down into the salon and started putting away all of the waxing and makeup equipment. "Can you do something for me, Anne?" inquired Catherine. "I'd love it if you could pierce my ears. I've been thinking about having them double pierced for a while now, and it would be a fantastic way to remember today." "I suppose so, but you'd have to show me how. I can't say I took a lot of notice when you did either of mine a few months ago. I was more concerned with how it would look rather than the piercing itself," replied Anne. Catherine then went about preparing the ear-piercing equipment. She then removed the studs that she was wearing and using a sterilized swab cleaned her ears. She then asked Anne to take the marking pen and place a dot where the new holes would be pierced. Anne dotted one of Catherine's ears and then, using a piece of paper as a measuring guide, proceeded to mark Catherine's other ear the same distance for her current hole so that the new piercing would match. With the hole marked, Catherine then picked up the loaded piercing gun and handed it to Anne. "Just line up the end of the stud with the mark and pull the trigger. There's nothing to it," said Catherine calmly. With a slightly trembling hand, Anne aligned the mark and the end of the stud, and after checking that Catherine was ready, pulled the trigger and pierced Catherine's ear. "One down, one to go," said a relieved Anne. "I hope that it didn't hurt you too much." "Didn't feel a thing," replied Catherine. "You did just fine." At that, Catherine asked Anne to this time load the gun, and after a bit of instruction, the gun was ready for the second piercing. This time Anne confidently aligned the gun with Catherine's ear and without hesitation squeezed the trigger, piercing her partner's ear. "Thanks, Anne, you did very well," said Catherine as she admired the new studs in her ears. And then inserted Catherine's other studs and admired her work. Double pierced ears really suits you, darling, Anne stated. Perhaps one day I might even get mine pierced again. Perhaps, Anne, perhaps, replied Catherine. By this time it was getting late and the two of them were feeling quite tired after all of their exploits of the day. Before climbing into bed, Catherine removed Anne's makeup and wig. We will just use this for special occasions, Anne. For the rest of the time you can still be Ian if that is okay with you? Inquired Catherine. That's great. I don't think that I'd be confident to walk around as Anne all of the time, responded Anne. Anne's legs felt silky smooth as she slid under the bed covers. Thanks for the most wonderful experience. I can't tell you how much this has meant to me. You are very special, said Anne as she rolled over to cuddle Catherine before falling asleep. The next morning they awoke for the start of another week in the beauty salon. I suppose I'd better go back to calling you Ian? Questioned Catherine. Yes, I suppose so, or back to life as normal, whatever that is, replied Ian with a grin on his face. I've got a full day today, so I'm going now to get things organized. See you soon, said Catherine, moving downstairs. A little after 11 o'clock Ian went downstairs to see how Catherine was getting on. Just as he got downstairs a lady and her two daughters entered the salon. I'd like to have my daughter's ears pierced and get mine done again, please? Asked the mother. Could you fit us in now? I'm flat out at the moment, but I think that I can get someone to do it for you. Would you mind if I get my brother to do it? He's pierced ears before and in fact, he did mine for me just last night, replied Catherine. I suppose that is okay. Haven't heard of too many men who do ear piercing, but if he's experienced then I see no problems, the client responded. Don't worry, my brother is very good at it. I wouldn't trust anyone else to do my ears either, said Catherine. On hearing the entire conversation from the back of the salon, Ian was very confused, and when Catherine approached him he asked why she had said that he, or at least her brother, would pierce the customer's ears. I need you. I have no time, and if you don't do it then they will just find someone who does and we will lose money now and 3 clients for the future. Is that any way to run a business? Pleaded Catherine. Ian could see her logic and finally agreed to do the piercings as long as you are right beside me. Catherine then leads the mother and her daughters, who were about 12 and 10, to the area where the ear piercing would take place and left them in Ian's care. Ian washed his hands and prepared the equipment for his first ear piercings as a professional. He showed all 3 of them the selection of piercing studs available and waited for them to make their choice. As the girls appeared quite nervous about having their ears pierced, Ian suggested that the mother have her second pair of holes pierced first. The mother thought that it was a good idea and sat in the chair in front of the mirror. Ian then started to clean the mother's ears when she said, I see you have both of your ears pierced. Not many men have that done. Ian instantly felt very self-conscious about his pierced ears and what was only saved from further interrogation by the arrival of his wife. Most gay men have both of their ears pierced these days, interjected Catherine. Ian was at first shocked by the fact that his wife had called him a gay, but he quickly realized that it created the perfect cover for his appearance. Oh, that's fine. It would also explain the waxed, thinned eyebrows, the mother responded. Yes, they look great, don't they? I did them just last night for him, said Catherine. I see everything is under control here. I'll go back and finish the facial I'm doing. Thanks, said a relieved Ian to Catherine as she left the cubicle. Now I'm just going to mark where the earrings are going to be and I'll have you pierced in no time, said a more confident Ian to the mother. It really is nothing, girls. When I had mine done I didn't even try, joked Ian to the girls, who were riveted to every move he made. Ian marked the mother's ears and after checking with her that the alignment was satisfactory started loading the first stud into the ear piercing gun. Ready to go then? Queried Ian. Yes, ready when you are, replied the mother. Ian then quickly placed the gun over the marked spot, pulled the trigger, and successfully pierced the mother's left ear. After checking that she was okay, he loaded the gun again and repeated the process on her right ear. 1 down, 2 to go, he said to the girls who had watched their mother's piercing in great detail. Who'd like to go next? He asked. The older girl said she would be next and replaced her mother in the chair. In no time her ears were cleaned and marked and the placement of the markings approved by the girl's mother. Ian could sense that the girl was nervous and offered her a reassuring smile and which seemed to settle her nerves. He placed the gun to her and asked her to count to 5. Before she had reached 5 he had her ear pierced. She hadn't even realized that it had been done. The gun was reloaded for the other ear and pierced with no dramas. "Thanks," said the older girl as she admired her freshly pierced ears in the mirror. "I didn't feel a thing." The girl looking happily at her newly pierced ears reminded him of when he had had his own ears pierced and how at the time it didn't mean a great deal to him. The events of yesterday had certainly changed that and made him appreciate his own ears even more. The younger girl then had both of her ears pierced with the incident and was equally pleased with the earrings now adorning her ears. The mother thanked Ian for his time and skill. It was at this time that Catherine rejoined them. "I see everything went well as I knew it would," said Catherine. "My brother is very good." "Thanks so much," replied the mother. "Many mothers that I speak to are very tentative about having their daughters' ears pierced, but after I tell them about our experience here I am certain that you'll have lots more parents bringing their children here to get their ear pierced." "Thanks, Ian, you obviously are a guru when it comes to ear piercing," said Catherine. "You can perform all of the piercings from now on if you like. I am just so busy doing everything else that it would take some of the strain from me." "Okay," replied Ian confidently. "I actually quite enjoyed it after the initial hiccup with the mother talking about my pierced ears. Thanks for bailing me out there. The gay brother angle worked really well," Ian continued. "Yeah, it does. We'll stick to that if you like?" queried Catherine. "For sure," replied Ian.